Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second hour of episode 21 of the Long Voyage. And we are in a small, strange store where Ilva has just found a glass jar full of animal eyeballs floating around in a yellowy, odd liquid, and she's interested in knowing what the bloody hell it is. So, yes, what you do?
She carefully walks up to the old man smoking something
Mm-hmm.
and politely asks, What?
He looks up at the large woman in front of him, and his eyes. You presume that's where his eyes are. He's that wrinkled, and you can't really see them in there. But it's you're pretty sure that he's looking at you, and he looks up at you.
What are the eyeballs for?
He he
She
puts
indicates them discreetly.
he carefully puts down the thing that he was smoking from. It's a well, basically from the for the uninitiated, or for for reference, it's a water pipe. Um,
Ah,
and he puts down the mouthpiece that he's been smoking on,
Ah!
and
Good one.
he looks at Ilva and goes, "That is the second strange one I have seen today. Are you invading Kippa? Two of you in one day, tall with
Say what?
strange hair.
you have to speak up a little.
It's almost impossible to do
Yeah.
with that voice, unfortunately.
But I've noticed when it is you cut out, it's because you're not speaking that loudly.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and adjust my microphone a little and see if that helps.
Hopefully it does.
Hopefully it does. So there we go. Microphone. Can you hear me better now? Is that better? All right.
I think so.
All right. Well, he looks. I'll use it again. And he looks up and he wheezes that. So that is the second strange one I have seen today. Are you invading Keba? Strange one. Two tall people with strange hair in one day is, well, it cannot be a coincidence. Oh, and the eyeballs are just a light snack.
The eyeballs are a what?
Light snack.
You eat them.
Indeed. Very tasty. Pickled.
Oh. And we are not invading. We are just visiting.
I see. Well, visiting or not, I am at your disposal. What do you wish, strange one?
What do you have of regular medicine?
A great deal. Depends, of course, on your malady and what ails you, but I can cure most things. I
It's
even have access to surgical instruments.
And now I'm pondering, I wonder what Gylfie would want.
Of course.
The erection stuff.
Oh, what for the...
The erection stuff.
Oh, no thank you.
Good
He's boning enough ladies as is.
point.
I think if you tell him to ingest powdered corpse of hanged man, he might bone less.
She could do a doozy on him and make him impotent.
Oh, that would be cruel.
Yeah, it would.
Do it.
But the
No, she's not that cruel yet.
so you guys do fight a lot. It might be, something for wounds or something.
Yeah, but that was up until he gave her his amulet. And apologized.
Yes. No, I mean, as a group, you fight. You get into battles.
Yeah, I were about to say. Well, something to use as first aid on the field.
Interesting. You do have the bearing of a warrior, strange one. I shall prepare an ointment and a powder for you. If you wait, it shall not take long.
Thank you.
He reaches out behind him and takes down a couple of jars and what are they called? Jars and flasks and so on, and he begins mixing some things. And he gives you, it takes about, you guys don't use minutes, but you would say it takes maybe 15 minutes or so, and he's all done. And the smells in the room, as he does so, go from really fascinating to, wow, that smells nice, to, all in the space of not very long from one another. But when he hands one of them over to you, he says, that's the ointment, and it's a rather large tin, really, or not tin. It's a jar, but it's a reasonably large thing. Maybe it's got about 3/4 of a liter in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, thereabouts. And he says, this is a simple thing to make. It will dull pain in wounds. Smear a little of it around the edge of the wound, and it shall lessen the pain of the suffering victim. So
She looks into it and then
it's a local
immediately.
It's a local anesthetic, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little like the bark thingy he used.
Yes.
But you had to drink that.
Yes, and it takes takes a while for that to work properly. This stuff goes directly on the wound almost. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then he hands out the powder and says, if you just sprinkle a small amount of this into a bleeding wound. Not much at all. Maybe what you can squeeze between your thumb and your index finger, in your case, strange one. It will stop the bleeding. Make the blood stiffen in the wound.
Ooh, that's useful.
Very. It saves quite a lot of lives on the battlefields for the Imperial armies. As I said, I can cure most things. People often come to me with their medicinal problems. Is there anything else I can assist you with? strange one?
I don't think so at the moment. But I will show my friend over here. He'll love this place.
Absolutely. I shall enjoy his visit, I am certain.
Unless he's the one who's already been here, of course. Was it a shorter blonde man?
No, he was large. He had broad shoulders. He was strong, as are you, clearly. And he had red hair and beard.
Frothy then, okay.
Most unusual. He seemed interested in that over there, he says, and points to a skull on one of the shelves.
A skull?
Yes, that's what. Oh,
No, she asks.
Oh, yes. Well, more than that. It has a personal connection to me, you might say. He looks a little tired when he says that. It should be said that, of course, in the eyes of the skull are some kind of gemstone. Clear gemstone.
Okay. But if it's a personal connection, why would you part with it?
I should wish to do so, as it was quite enough to have her nagging me in life. It is the skull of my wife, you see, my late departed wife.
Oh, she sounds like she completely understands him now.
She was a talented Mordsky and a nagger.
Oh. So he wants to buy the skull.
Yes, I have explained to him that it will allow him greater stamina in his incantations.
Ah.
The skull will allow him to use what strength remains of my departed wife on a daily basis, before he, shall we say, draws on his own strength.
Smart.
It is useful.
Very useful.
And, of course, reasonably costly. It is, for all her nagging, a powerful item and worth quite a bit.
Of course.
He hands over the two objects and smiles and says, it shall be 50 pieces of silver for these two items, strange one.
She nods and hands them over.
He bows his head and looks quite pleased and says, I think I like your people. You do not haggle needlessly.
Sorry, what was the last?
He says, you do not haggle needlessly.
Oh, I found that people in this country are really fair with the prices.
Indeed. I do not live on cheating my customers. They would not return in that case.
And therefore no need to haggle.
Indeed. He bows his head and picks up his smoking utensil again and goes back to smoking this sweet-smelling whatever it is.
Have a very nice day.
You too, strange one. Please do return. return if you wish.
I will. And then she turns around and leaves with Chow.
Yes.
He was a nice person. I don't see why you think he's strange.
Well, he does sell some oddities like the skull of his departed wife, he says.
Well, if you knew my parents,
Oh.
you would want to sell their skulls too.
He actually laughs and says, it sounds like there's a story there.
Very long and full of betrayal, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I did not mean to make light of something so serious.
No, it's completely okay. It's been several years now.
Well, he says, and looks at you with a smile. For what it is worth, betrayal or not, they have produced a remarkable daughter.
I don't think it was to their liking, though.
Oh, why not?
They did not want me to become a warrior.
Well, is it not, he says, and suddenly looks very sad. Is it not better for each of us to choose our way in life?
Of course it is.
If you wish to be a warrior, then you should be a warrior.
If I didn't, I wouldn't have ended up here.
Very true. Unfortunately, my father wants me to be a warrior.
Yeah, I can't pretend that I haven't heard that.
It's not, no. It's not for me.
I understand.
Not everybody has a talent for war.
Not everybody should.
Indeed, if we all were warriors all the time, well,
Where would the healers be?
and the people making clothes and growing food and
Very beautiful pictures.
thank you very much. Tell you what, he says. Have you had anything to eat yet?
I actually don't think she has. She got a bath?
Yes.
Did she eat then?
I don't think so.
She ate the water.
No, actually no. I got a bath. And
Well,
that's
he
about
says,
it.
Why don't we go to, where do you stay?
Ha 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 ha. She turns bright red.
He looks perfectly innocent, and he's not sure what that's why you look that way.
The Scarlet Cloud.
Oh, that's an excellent place. They make good food. Let's go there.
Okay.
He seems perfectly undisturbed by the fact, so sure.
Yeah, she's not used to the notion, that's why.
No, of course not. And and he does, on the way there, he does point out that they, it's as he says, it's a nice place. It's beautifully decorated. He does tell you that he has made some pictures for the place. So he's familiar with it because he's actually painted pictures for for the Scarlet Cloud.
That's nice.
So yep, you guys head
You
back
must
there.
show them to me.
Yep, I should be happy to. Well, some of them are in the rooms, I'm sure. So
Aw.
we can't burst in on people, but I can show you the ones in the common room.
Yeah.
And well, you head back there, and he does point out some of the paintings that he's made, and you can have some food.
Yay, food.
Yay, food indeed. And we shall hop back up to where Sindri is, because he is in his room and he has had tea and he's had some me time. What Sindri do?
Well, apparently he's been staring gormlessly at a painting for the last...
Well, maybe
some
not gormlessly, but
There's some hidden detail in this. I must find it. I will stare at it intently and hope something.
Now I just imagine him having one eye directly on it, that
Yes,
close, like, oh, I see into your soul.
Reveal your secrets to me. No. Well, after having decided he's going to put that matter to rest later, he will. What will he do? I think maybe he'll decide he wants to get something to eat as well. If it's about the right sort of time.
Yeah, he's had a bath and now he's had tea. Maybe he gets hungry.
Yeah.
After staring daggers at a painting for a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's face it, Sindri just stares daggers. That is his default setting.
That is a very good point, actually.
Unless you boop his nose, then he stares lightnings.
Well,
Cross-eyed, but yeah.
Very cross-eyed lightnings, but lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you head downstairs to have food.
I do.
Yes, and well, clearly when you get down there, there is Ylva with a young man. They're having food as well.
Yes, Ylva has been out in town and picked up a handsome young man.
Yes.
Sindri sits down with them and says, first thing out of his mouth is, I do hope you don't think you can break your oath so far from home.
Huh?
I'm
You've
assuming,
obtained
by the way, that you speak in Southlander.
Yes, of course.
Yes. He seems perfectly fascinated by that. But yeah.
You've picked
It just stares. What? Huh?
You have brought home to this place of good food and better affection a handsome young. He stares at the boy.
Yes.
Man, I think.
It's a man.
Oh man, cruel.
I mean, he does look androgynous. He can't tell.
He does.
And then the man, the young man, quotation mark, will see Ylva get a very dark look over her face and punch the man in the arm.
He's, even your language sounds warlike, and now you're punching each other, he says.
He was being rude.
Oh.
Now.
Southlanders do that. Well met, friend.
Thanks to you. And he looks at Sindri for a while, and at his face, and he's like, I must paint you as well. I have to.
Oh, yeah. This is Tang Chao. He is a young artist, and he has actually painted some of the paintings in this place.
Paintings in the... Sindri then looks at the man quite intently.
Who smiles and looks back politely.
You paint paintings
Yes.
in here.
Yes, I do. I have.
Like this one. And then Ylva unfolds the one he made of her.
Yes.
Very impressive.
I would like to make one of you as well.
I'm...
You are so very different people from anything I would see in this place. You would make a wonderful addition to my repertoire. He uses a word that you guys don't really understand, but that's what he means. He tries to explain I would become a better painter for painting someone so different.
I think you might set... Sindri, in his own language, then says, I think he might set himself back painting someone as ugly as me.
Oh,
and then,
stop it, Sindri.
What? It's true. This face is not attractive, and he says, pointing at his own. And then looks back to the young man and says, there is a painting in my room.
Yes.
Fascinating thing. Cliff from men on horses, falling woman
yes.
with red hair.
Yes, that one. No, she doesn't have red hair in the
Red,
picture.
red feathers. Red
But
feathers.
yeah,
that's-
red
that's-
feathers, but it's
That's what he says.
difficult because she's falling.
Yes.
There aren't much color. I mean, it's mostly in black tones, except for the feathers. That's what makes it so different. Or
Yes.
them so different.
Okay, but yes, he says.
I remember painting that. I'm not quite sure why I painted that particular thing. It just came to me.
No
I-
inspiration, no
No,
vision.
No, no visions. No, I'm not Botsky. I don't get visions, but I got the idea. It just, I don't know. It struck me as an interesting image.
He nods to the young man again and then turns to Ilva and again in Southland and says, I do believe this young man of yours painted an image of something with something regarding the Red Raven.
She freezes. What?
A painting in my bedroom of a woman falling from a cliff with red feathers around her.
Whoa.
But he said, as he's just said, he has no idea how it happened. But he painted this thing. It cannot be a coincidence.
Of course not. We're following the Red Raven.
Well, we found our
And
next.
apparently I have a list because I can't say Red Raven. I said Red Raven. Red Raven! Oh, Red Raven!
I mean, I'm not.
You're sounding like Matt Damon in Team America.
Yay! Ilva Smash! Red Raven!
One day, I'm actually going to be able to watch that movie because I've not seen it and I should see it.
It's horrible.
Well,
I
yes.
haven't actually seen it either,
It's
but I
awful.
imagine in Matt Damon he's horrible.
No,
It's-
but
it's-
Matt Damon. The only thing he's playing himself or the doll of himself, and the only thing he ever says in the entire movie is Matt Damon. It's the only thing he ever says. So at least the man clearly has a little bit of self-irony.
Yes,
Yeah, he does.
it's
Like
good.
Groot.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that
That's cute.
yes, very good. But yeah, Sindri just nods and just says, "Well, we have our next clue. We'll mention it to Frody and Gilfie when we have a chance."
Yeah, well, they can at least take a look at it when it's in your room.
I wonder if he says, "I wonder if I could buy it or something."
You should ask, was it Hanako?
Yes, of course.
I think
and then
it was Hanako.
hmm
And while you're standing there, by the way, the young man, gestures for you to please, join them and eat.
Ilva scoots over so there's room.
Sindri looks at the young man as he sits down and says, "Apologies for speaking in tongues around you. It's
No, he says it's fine. As I said, it's a fascinating language. You are fascinating people.
likewise."
I was about to say, I found this place very fascinating.
I guess we must be very strange to you as well.
Hmm.
Is everybody as tall and powerful as you where you're from?
No, we have Gilfie too.
Many, but not all.
Right. And the women, are they all warriors like yourself?
No.
Oh.
Girls, before they come of age,
Right.
if they want to, they can take an. She looks for the, thinks about what word to use. Oath, promise,
Yes, an oath. Yes.
and become a warrior. If not, then they marry and have children.
But not if they're warriors.
No. If we become warriors like me, we never marry or have children. We only warriors. Warrior is our life
For
I see. That is
until the day we die.
That is a lonely, often lonely road, but very honorable.
Not lonely. And she puts an arm around Sindri. I have Mr. Grumpy.
Mm.
In the midst of a bite of food.
Mhm.
Exactly. It
Is
doesn't seem like she actually cares about that part, though.
No. But basically, you guys are sitting there and eating and so on, and just, chatting for a while.
Yes, of course.
Yes. I think we shall head back to Eileen and Frothy for a moment.
Who
are
bullshitted
now-
their way into a guarded place.
Yes, who have bullshitted their way into a guarded place. And,
I mean, she's not, technically speaking, said anything that's untrue. She
No.
is a seamstress, and she does like selling her wares, and we did think that perhaps women would like clothing.
indeed, and you did come on a ship and befriend people where she lives and so on. She's been quite truthful up until
She
this
did
point.
say she was very bad at lying,
Yes.
so saying the truth in another context is a good thing.
Yes.
Which, incidentally, is just another technique in lying.
Exactly. I did
That's
never
backwards.
go out.
That's
It's the
backwards.
same as saying, I have been to the toilet. You don't have to say you were today since you were yesterday, but you have been.
Yes,
It's not an entire lie, it's just a half one because you didn't do it today.
indeed. So, guys, you are in. You are led through the building and into what turns out to be a small garden in the middle of the house. With
Truly lowly comments on this. That's a strange thing to have.
Eileen smiles and says, "Well, it's a place. Some people like this sort of thing because it's a nice place to go and relax.
I suppose so. Hmm.
Also, she says and points to the flower beds and so on. It isn't one of those places where gravel that's been raked and so on, but she points to the flower beds and says, there is an artistry in arranging these. There's a whole system for that which I don't know anything about, but some people like that.
Well, that's interesting. I don't think we have. Well, he wants to say climate,
Yes.
so he tries
Weather.
the world weather for that.
Well, you did say that it was very cold much of the year. I don't imagine you have that many flowers.
No, but we can make snow sculptures.
That must actually be. I mean, snow. I've seen it once in my life. It wasn't there for very long, but it was very cold while it was there. And you say you have snow all the time.
Yes.
You are hardy people.
Yes. Most people don't have the time or patience to make snow sculpture, but is an option.
Hmm? Well, the I imagine children like to play with it. She said.
Yes. We have good snowball fights.
I guess children of all ages like to play with it. She says and looks sidelong at you with a smirk.
She gets a grin back.
So, but you are led into this small garden, and a woman appears from behind some bushes and a tree. Basically, there are some bushes arranged and a rather gnarly sort of tree, and she walks out from behind that, and it is this woman.
Does she appear elegantly, or is it a jump scare?
No, it's elegantly. She doesn't jump out and is like, boo! No. She just...
Hi!
No, she walks around and looks at you with, well, it's not an unkind expression on her face, but it's, at the same time, it's clear that, you are here for a reason. And she says, Welcome. I understand, she says, and looks at Eileen, that you are a seamstress. And Eileen bows again very respectfully and says, I am, indeed. And we were told that you, I assume, you, my lady, and your sister, possibly, provided that you are, in fact, one of the Don sisters. And the woman nods in confirmation. Doesn't say anything, but just nods, and then Eileen continues and says, well, then, yes, we were told that you were extraordinary people, and that we figured consequently, or I figured, that it would be prudent for me to offer my services. And the woman, cants her head slightly and says, well, that is, I suppose, that's, I mean, it's a compliment, and thank you. She says, but there are plenty of extraordinary people in Kepa, so why specifically us? We are not exactly the kind of people who would, let's just say that us wearing your clothing would not endear you to a great many important people in this city. And Eileen raises both eyebrows and says, I don't know anything about that. I am from Lanwan. I don't live in Kepa. I am simply here on business for a while, and thought that it would be interesting to perhaps broaden my list of clients. Seeing as I live in Lanwan, I would be able to still make clothes while living there, and it would not hurt my business to not have many important clients here in Kepa. That the woman nods and says, well, that makes sense, I suppose. Certainly. Do you have a sample of your craft with you? She says, so that I have a chance of and yes, she does in fact turn and look at Frothy and says, this is admittedly menswear, but what my bodyguard is wearing, I created. He is,
Frothy poses.
as you can see from,
He likes that way too much.
he is, as you can tell, he is from very, very far away, and well, the clothing he and his companions wore when they arrived were that she sends you the barest hint of an apologetic glance. She says, well, they did look like barbarians when they arrived. I took it upon myself to make sure that they looked like civilized people. And again, the woman smiles slightly, very slightly, but nods and says, it is certainly well crafted. She walks over to you and around you, and occasionally, she reaches and feels the fabric, and once she reaches up with both hands and not stretches the cloth, but holds it up so that she can see if the seams are straight and well hidden and so on.
So what do you observe, sir?
Yes, and she says, this is excellent craftsmanship, fully at the level of anything I would expect to find in Kepa. And you said you live in Lanwan, and Eileen nods, says, yes, my lady, it's been my home for several years. And the woman again smiles that strange, quirky little smile and says, yes, I suppose we all have reasons to not live in the city from time to time. There are days where I wish it would be me. Especially now. Well, yes, she says, I should certainly like to commission clothes. And I'm certain my sister would as well. She has always been, well, let's just say that she is more, she takes a greater interest in such things as fashions than I do. That's not to say I don't enjoy well-crafted clothes as much as the next person. She sees it as almost a reason for existing. Please wait here and I shall go and get her. And of course, then she leaves. Eileen turns and looks at you and says, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you.
Our clothing is quite crude compared to yours.
Well, yes, but, the whole civilized thing and so on, but I figure it's a little haughty and, yeah, well.
Don't worry, we could say plenty of bad things about you tiny people.
And, but she waits and with you and doesn't take long and then the woman comes back with another who they look sufficiently alike that there's no question that they're sisters, and she walks up to you and the one you spoke to before and says, it's incidentally, I am Nari and this is my sister Yun, and well, I do require 2 new dresses, something simple and comfortable. I must be able to move in them, and with ease and some speed. And again, obviously, Eileen is clearly, taking mental notes of this, and she is digging into her belt, into one of her pouches, and she finds one of those strings that she used when she took measurements from all of you, with knots on them, so that she can, measure the 2 women. And then she asks a few questions about colors and what kind of material, and then they talk a little bit about price, and the 2 sisters seem impressed with the prices that they're offered. Again, Eileen does not overcharge, so they're clearly, well, this is definitely. And at one point, Yun says, "Can you make a living at those prices?" And Eileen smiles and says, "Well, the cost of living is not great in Lanwan, so yes, I get by quite nicely." And she says, "Well, that," Yun says, that I suppose it's more inexpensive to live in a smaller place than in a city like Kepa. And what, incidentally, what is that?" She looks up at Frodi, and there's a smile spreading on her face now that she's finally, officially acknowledged you. It's like, he is impressive.
I think Thrody bows and says, "Thank you for the compliment."
Ooh, and well behaved. Can I keep him?
Who does she ask?
She does. She asks her sister, and her sister just rolls her eyes and says, "He's not for sale. He's already hired by this young lady, apparently, as her bodyguard." And Yun pouts, really pouts. "Oh, but I could do such interesting things with him."
Thrody looks like he doesn't quite know what to make of that, because that sounded creepy, but it might just be his understanding of the language.
Yes, and Nari again rolls her eyes and says, "You have been pining for a man ever since you were turned down by Jung. Please, Yun, please control yourself." and she both looks and sounds tired, and again Yun pouts. She does that, clearly does that a lot. And well, at that point they Eileen starts taking their measurements, and
I think if there is small talk, from
Yes.
this point on, when
Yes.
he's being addressed, Frody will butt in and
Of course.
comment every once in a while.
yes,
Nothing large, because, but
just occasionally.
yes.
Yes, and while you are standing there, and while the island takes these measurements, the man that bumped into you earlier actually enters the small garden, and obviously he's quite surprised to see you there. And he says, "Oh, so we meet once again."
Ah, it must be fate.
Yes, I suppose. He says, and clearly when he says again, both Yun and Nari looks at you, and then he says, fate, yes, or perhaps you are here for a different reason. These two good women, he says, and gestures to the sisters, have many enemies in this city, and I am sworn to protect them, I should say.
Frody looks to Eileen, and if she seems, to not know what to say,
She's clearly looking to you for, help here.
Frody shrugs and says, I don't count myself among their enemies. I don't have any reason to, at least.
He thinks about that for a while and says, "No, you do not need to personally be their enemy. You could have been hired by someone who is."
I am currently under employment by, what's his face, Lord from Lanwan.
Lord Bao.
Wow, to escort his daughter, and currently I'm escorting Eileen around city to keep her safe.
Ah, I see. He says that he clearly recognizes Lord Bao's name, and he says that is interesting. He is a good man. Lord
Certainly
Bao
not.
is a good man who takes care of his people in a commendable way, and there's some emotion behind that.
I think Frody can't help himself and says, yes, I have noticed a stark difference between the lands. And he also does not seem very pleased with this difference.
No. And, this man looks at you and says, "Well, I'm gratified to hear that you've noticed this." He says, "My name is Ikeda Daichi. I used to be in Lord Song's employ, for lack of a better word. I left his employ because of what you just pointed out.
Seems sensible.
I do not approve of anyone who would let their own people starve for their own wealth's sake. Lord Sung is rich enough as it is. He doesn't need more money."
Frody nods and says, I have heard so as well. I heard his son is better, though.
Right, his son. And he looks at the sisters and holds out a hand in a polite gesture towards Yun, and says, "Yes, he is such a good man that he gave up his betrothal to this beautiful young woman simply because his father does not approve of her being a commoner." What a
Thordy
good man.
looks thoughtful, and then he says, "It certainly sounds like he lacks some backbone." And looks to the lady. "I am sorry to hear that."
She looks sad, but nods. And she says, "Well, there's more to the story than that. But yes, that is the essence of it." And as she says, "There is more to the story of it," you can tell that her sisters looks at her with a look that more clearly than words says, "You are not saying another word."
Hmm.
Clearly she still doesn't trust you. And she's but Yun, again, she still looks quite sad at the whole thing, and says, "Well, I wish that it hadn't happened. He was wonderfully attentive, considerate, intelligent, and kind, and I think I would have made him a very good wife, but well, just one day, with no warning, I receive a letter from the palace saying that I'm no longer betrothed to Jung, and that I'm not supposed to contact him ever again." And at this point, Nari just, she looks at the two of you with almost a challenging look on her face, challenging you or daring you to say or disagree, say something or disagree in some way. And she says, "So yes, as you can tell, Lord Sung and his son are less honorable than you might think. And they let their people starve. They do nothing to ensure the decent living and survival of their own people. And they break the heart of whoever they please for the silliest of reasons. But everything is fine, of course, because Lord Sung is a war hero." And there is so much venom in her voice as she says that. It's dripping off every word.
Well, I don't think he could be any less honorable than I think of him already. I think him beneath the soil beneath my boots. But I wonder if there isn't more to the story with his son. Did you receive a letter from his son directly, or
It
just...
was signed by him. And I recognize his handwriting.
Thordy shrugs. It is sad to hear. I consider myself a bit of a romantic.
They do look at you with this slight look of disbelief, but it's clear that how can something like that be a romantic? And because you to them, of course, you look like almost like a monster. So but these Daichi looks at the sisters, who at this point Eileen is done taking measurements, and she's packing up, and clearly she's ready to leave, and the sisters just they excuse themselves, and that leaves you alone for the time being with him. And he says, "I do not trust easily, and I can't say I trust you, at least yet. But I am a good judge of character, and you do seem like a forthright person, somebody who is honorable. If you had supported Lord Sung and his actions, lying about it would have been dishonorable. and yet you speak with conviction. So, yes, I believe that you are at least a decent man.
I don't tend to involve myself in local politics, but perhaps the outside view is clearer.
There is a good point to that, indeed. It says that when you live in something, it becomes difficult to observe it objectively and neutrally. I agree. I will let you, when you leave here, I will let you ponder this. Lord Sung is a war hero, as Nari said. His son is a renowned horseman, one of the finest warriors in the entire empire from horseback, and an excellent commander of cavalry. They left Kepa with over 3,000 men and came home alone. They claim that the soldiers are still fighting on the front lines. And I also know that messages and missives from the front are rare and infrequent. But it has been 3 years since they returned from the front, and to the best of my knowledge, not a single mother or father or sister or wife or brother, nobody who sent one of their loved ones to the front with Lord Sung and his son have received any word whatsoever about these men since they left. Not one.
That is peculiar.
Yes, indeed. But Lord Sung won great victories, because that is what Lord Sung tells us. Because Kepa is a prosperous city, people do not like to question Lord Sung's words. After all, that prosperity might no longer benefit them.
Yes.
3,000 young men.
This already looks like he's his mind is racing, and he says out loud, what could someone need 3,000 men for if not the front lines?
Oh, I'm sure they went to the front lines. I'm just not sure they survived it. When you join the Imperial armies, it is for a very long time. You don't leave within a few years. You sign up for 20 years.
Unless you're a war hero, of course.
Lord Sung doesn't actually sign up to the army, he's a noble.
Ah.
He just leads it. But common soldiers sign themselves to the Imperial armies for 20 years. I served my 20 years. I joined at the age of 16. I'm good at what I do. I'm an efficient killer. I fought my battles. But 3,000 men marched out of here, and while they may still be on the front lines, it does strike me as peculiar that not a single word has come back from any of them in all that time.
Certainly leaves a lot less to oppose you when you get back.
It also means, well, think about this. Lord Sung is an important man. He rules all of Kepa, after all, and all the surrounding lands. He's not an unimportant figure. His son is a young, up-and-coming hope for the Imperial armies. Traveling through the countryside alone, these two men without an escort seems a little risky, doesn't it?
Indeed.
So where's the escort?
I don't know your system that well, but from what I can understand, it's vast. Should there not be word from elsewhere about such things if they are not true?
He sighs and says, the people who could inform any of us of such things would be noblemen who also lead troops at the fronts. What interest could they possibly have in painting one of their own as a liar and a coward? Which is what I strongly believe he is.
I assume then that you don't have many men left in Kippa.
Oh yes, it's been 3 years after all. He's got a full garrison again. It's not a problem for him to find more soldiers. He pays them well.
And how many would he have in his garrison?
At this time,
Yes.
1,500 men.
And how many people are in Kippa?
About 50,000.
Well, you certainly have the numbers advantage. Should you be able to unify the people?
Oh, absolutely. He says, I totally agree. The problem, as I said, is that most people in Kepa does not actually want to think anything is wrong because the people in Kepa are rich. Because of Lord Sung. He brings in trade, a lot of it, and plenty of food. And the reason why he brings in plenty of food is because the people in the lands around here don't have enough. People do die from starvation every year. Very few people in the villages around Kepa live past their 50th or at least 55th year, whereas here in the city it's not unusual to live 20 years past that.
Impressive. I think at this point Throdi actually sits down somewhere, because standing up and having this conversation seems awkward.
Yes.
So, people are complacent, at least in Kepa, and the people outside of Kepa are too starved to actually do anything.
Yes, and they have no weapons. So when Lord Sung sends 50 or 60 heavily armed soldiers to take their rice, what can they do?
So it sounds like you would have more luck making the people of Kepa unhappy with Lord Sung.
That's what we're working on, little by little. But it is taking an awful long time. What was done to Lady Yun is... well, people do not think that that was right or fair, by and large. It is our best angle to get people to think an extra time about what their leaders are like.
Have you perhaps spoken with... And he looks to Eileen. What was the name of your friend again?
Which one? Oh, right. Yes, Zhang Li Wei?
Yes.
He smiles slightly and says, Master Shang is I won't call him a supporter. He has too much to lose by being in open support of us, but he does make sure that some food goes back.
I must admit, I'm a warrior. I'm not good at political games.
No, not everybody can be. I'm not particularly good at them myself. Fortunately, Lady Nari is excellent at them. And we are expecting developments, I should say. However, if you would pardon me, I have things I must attend to. But it has been interesting to meet you.
I should not be opposed to meeting again.
I think neither should I. In fact, where do you live? I shall make a point of paying a visit.
He looks to Eileen because he's forgotten the name.
The Crimson Cloud. And he nods again, completely unfazed, and says, well, expect me at some point, he says. I shall definitely visit. How long do you intend to stay?
He looks to Eileen again.
I think a few more days. Yes, I shall come by in the morning.
I shall expect you then.
He smiles at that, and as he turns around and he says, well, there is a saying, when you are expected, stay away. When you are not, pay a visit. And at that moment, Eileen turns stiff as a board, and he leaves. And she looks, she looks like she has completely forgotten how to blink, and then she just, when he has walked out, she reaches out to you, gets a hold of your sleeve, tucks on it, and says, come on, we're leaving, right now.
What did he say?
I'll tell you outside, come on.
Okay. I am pleased to see that while your women cannot be warriors, they can be equally fierce on the political stage.
Oh, yes, certainly. Let's get out of here.
I need my weapons.
Yes, of course. We will bring your weapons on the way out. And you do, of course. The weapon is right where you left it, and there's still a man sitting there, keeping watch over it, and he lets you have it.
Same man.
Yeah, same man.
Had it been Ilva, it would have been a matter of hugging her hammer lovingly and saying, I'll never leave you again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, you get your weapon back.
I think as he gets his weapon back, he again quietly asks Eileen if it would be impolite to pay the man for his services.
Yes, it would. It's part of his duties here.
Okay.
But as you get outside, she just takes a deep breath and looks at you and says, that is that saying that you mentioned?
Yeah, it was quite a good one.
Yes, it is the ancient motto of the mist. And I will tell you all about them when we get back to the Crimson Cloud. Let's go.
This has certainly turned out much more interesting than I anticipated.
Yes, and we shall take our second break there.
I think
Yes,
Diafrodi is happy. Because he hates stuff that's boring, but he loves interesting things.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I keep calling it the Crimson
lives
Cloud,
for
but
it.
it is, of course, the Scarlet Cloud, that's true. But anyway,
It's because alliteration is superior.
well, yes. Alliteration is superior.
Always.
So we shall take our second break and be right back with more of The Long Voyage.